Today in Matt's class, we are going to learn the 3 secrets to really good, no, really awesome illustration. So what I've noticed throughout all of my studies and my career, and I've been in the illustration game a very long time, what I've noticed, there's a lot of different styles, there's a lot of different media. Some people work traditional, some people work digital, some people draw a little bit more cartoony, some people draw a little bit more realistically and paint and the whole bit. There's so many different styles and so many different techniques, but what I have noticed is no matter what, the best of the best, no matter who the pro artist is, there are 3 secrets to really good illustration. And no matter what kind of style they have, everyone has these 3 things that they are utilizing. Number 1, composition. So composition is everything. Composition is basically your design. Now, when I was going to art school, it was really strange because I had my illustration classes and I had my design classes. And in my illustration classes, it seemed like the illustration teachers were always kind of making snide remarks about designers. They always wanted to separate illustrators from designers. Then when I was taking my design classes, same thing. They were always kind of separating, illustrators. It was just really odd to me that they kept making that separation between the two. I didn't really understand it then, and I definitely don't understand it now, because the two definitely go hand in hand. First of all, for design, to be able to know really good design and to be able to use it well, really good designers usually know how to draw pretty good anyway, and for doing things like thumbnails, and look at most logos. Most logos have some kind of illustration incorporated into it anyway. The flip-flop is probably even more true. So a lot of times with illustration, when we're going to school, we learn so much about rendering and drawing and painting and trying to make things look like photos, and that's all great, that's totally cool. But when you're putting together your finished illustrations, if they don't have a good sense of design, it's all for nothing. Design is everything. You could have something rendered so beautiful and like a photograph, but if the overall design and how everything is put together is not good, then your illustration is not good. So I want to talk a little bit about how design can really help you and can make or break your illustration. Composition. There was a time when I was living in Los Angeles, my main job was designing movie posters. So I worked for a lot of the different ad agencies like Sinegar Advertising, BD, Fox and Friends, and oh my gosh, so many different places. And I worked on a lot of different movie campaigns, and it was really interesting because more often than not, we didn't even get to see the movie that we were creating movie posters for. A lot of times they would give us a blurb about what the movie was about, like a paragraph. And this was early on before they even had a trailer, so we really didn't know that much. We would get stock images or we would get stills from the movie, and sometimes, man, if we got 6 images, we were lucky. Sometimes you would get less than that. And I kid you not, there were times where we would get 2 images and we were expected to come up with a movie poster and somehow have this really cool movie campaign when all they would give us is 2 photos. Why they would only give us 2, sometimes it was secrecy and everything was on lockdown. Then they would want us to design 30 different movie poster comps to try to sell their movie. But they're only giving us 2 photos. How can you possibly come up with 30 designs if you only have 2 photos? I'm going to show you. Let's say we've got a movie. I'm going to just make up a movie here. Let's say that we've got a film. It's the new Conan movie. And let's say this Conan movie is going to star Vin Diesel. So let's say they give us 2 photographs. Photograph 1, here's Vin Diesel in the movie. They give him a sweet wig. So he's got flowing kind of Fabio hair. He's super buff. And then maybe he's got, I don't know what his sword looks like. That's a crazy Conan sword, but there you have it. something like that, and his hair is kind of blowing in the wind. So let's say they give you a photo like that. Then let's say they give us another photo. It's one of the locations, and let's say this particular location is this castle that almost looks like an evil cat. And then here's like mountains or something in the background. And then now they give us these two photos. We don't even know, is this where Conan lives? Is this a good person, evil cat temple? Or is this where the bad guys are? We don't even know. Doesn't matter. We've got to come up with 30 different designs for this new movie poster that stars Vin Diesel. So there's a couple things that you can do. One is, well, there's more than a couple things you can do, but let's start coming up with some. One that we can do the obvious. Maybe there is a poster that kind of looks like this, right? Now we don't have a lot of what's going on down here, so maybe it can fade into darkness so that you don't know that we didn't have the rest of the photo, and that would actually be perfect, because maybe down here, this is where it's gonna say Conan, and it goes through the, it's got the sword that kind of goes through it, and maybe up here, it doesn't even say Vin Diesel, it just says Diesel. Now, instead of having, this is kind of awkward here, it's not very movie poster-like, so maybe what we can do in Photoshop or with our drawing skills, instead of having the sword and the hands holding it right there, maybe we can recreate the sword and make it like he was holding it, just a little more ominous, like that, and maybe his other hand is kind of down like this. And maybe that would be a little bit more ominous. Is it movie poster like? I don't know. But you know what? Let's try some other ones. Maybe there's another one where we can get fancy with it, and maybe for this one, maybe we do the same thing, but maybe we kind of crop in like this, and we only see half of Vin Diesel's face. And then maybe in the background we see, there's the cat castle looming in the distance right here. What if we did something on an angle? So when you look at it, you're kind of seeing things kind of skewed over more like that. Even though we only have these two images, how we present these, how we make new compositions, even though it's the same image, that is going to help us a bunch. When you're drawing something, even if you're working from a photo, it's not just about take exactly what's in the photo and draw exactly that. You have so many opportunities to push and pull and have something over here, or crop in closer to this area, or really render this out and then leave this area more blank. There's so many cool things you can do. You should be thinking about all of those things to really maximize what you're doing. One more idea that just popped into my head. What if we had a movie poster that kind of centers around the front of this cat castle? Then what if we superimpose Vin Diesel? Here's his dreamy hair. I actually love that. That's kind of cool. See, when you look at it, you don't know, it almost looks like he's wearing some kind of mask, right? When really this is just the castle superimposed over his face. Okay, maybe that's a little weird too, but you get my idea that there's so many different opportunities that you have every time you do a drawing. The possibilities of really cool composition and doing something unique are endless. So that is secret number one, composition. Secret number two, contrast in value. As you may or may not know, value is the difference from light to dark. So you've probably done those value grids before, where you have a bunch of squares, and the first one you leave white, and the next one you shade in just a little bit, and then the next one you shade in a little bit more, and the next one you shade in a little bit more, and then the next one you just darken it as much as possible. And then that's a value grid, kind of going from light to dark. That's what value is. With really good illustration, again, it doesn't matter if it's full color or if it's black and white, if you are looking at manga or anime, or it could be something more evocative and abstract. It does not matter the kind of illustration. You want to have good contrast. Absolute white, absolute black, and then all kinds of values in between. That's what's going to make your illustration really strong. Let's say we've got a photo of someone, and if you don't have really good lighting, I wish I had hair that big. It's like Patrick Swayze hair. No one puts baby in a corner. All right, so right now there's no shadows, so this might be a good drawing. It's not a good drawing, it's a quick scribble, but this might be a good drawing, but it doesn't have any value. It doesn't have anything locking in. So what's gonna help is if we can start getting more values in there. The shadow under the nose, the shadow under the lips. Instantly there's more value, and when you start putting in more values, maybe instead of this guy having really light hair, maybe this guy has darker hair. And the more you can kind of separate and have lights, darks, and all kinds of values in between, that is going to make things stand out more. So obviously this is just a quick scribble, but I guarantee if you look up some of your favorite artists and you look closely, not only are you going to see good composition, you are going to see awesome contrast from light to dark. And it's not just about absolute black and absolute white, although that really helps to push things, but all of the values in between. So that is secret number 2. There is one more secret to really good illustration. Contrast in edge control. This is the difference between your hard edges and your soft edges. So normally you have this anyway with really good lighting where you have your form shadows and your cast shadows. But ideally what it means for any kind of image that you have, you've got areas transitioning from one value to another, either abruptly where you've got like something dark meets up against something light, and sometimes it's a shadow where there is no light and then suddenly light starts, right? Or vice versa. And then sometimes you have gradations where things are rolling into shadow, or you've got something like a sky that's maybe a little bit more of a medium blue up above, and then it gets lighter as it gets closer to the horizon. That would be a soft edge. Let's kind of infuse a little bit more of those hard edges and soft edges. Let's say the light is coming down at an angle like this. So we may have maybe the head is rolling into shadow just a little bit more over here, so maybe it's going to be a little bit darker here. Maybe it's actually casting a shadow slightly on his forehead here. Because the light is up above, it may actually be casting shadows. Kind of like, it almost looks like he's wearing a mask now, but maybe the nose it's rolling into shadow here, soft edge, but then casting a shadow onto the side of the face here. Upper lip is in shadow. Lower lip is rolling into shadow. Chin is rolling into shadow. This whole side of the jaw is kind of going back into shadow. Sometimes up close it looks like it's all chicken scratch, and it almost looks like it's a barbed wire fence, but hopefully from far away, rolling into shadow here. This is going like that, and then this whole side is going into shadow like so. Now, here's the cool thing. In the background of this, if the light, I always ask this to my students, if the light is over here and it's pointing this way, is the background going to be lighter on this side, or is it going to be lighter on this side? It's almost a trick question, because you would almost think, well, if the light is over here, that means the background's going to be lighter over here, right? Wrong. If the light is over here but it's pointing this way, the background is actually going to be lighter on this side and it's going to be darker on this side. But that's actually really cool, because watch what happens. First of all, we're going to have it darker on this side, so we're going to go ahead, let's fill that in like so. But then what's going to happen as we kind of transition from this side over to this side we're going to keep light. So it's going to be darker over here, and then it's gradually going to get lighter there. I know this is just, again, this is just a quick scribble, so it kind of looks like chicken scratch, but hopefully you can tell kind of from a distance, this works really well, not only because we have contrast in value, the difference from light to dark, we also have contrast in edge control. We have sharp edges where shadows here, right here, where there's light on the neck, and then there's a shadow abruptly that goes right next to it. We also have light on the shoulder here, But then we've got the darkness in the background meeting up, and that kind of helps the shoulder to stand out a little bit. And then right here, we've got the forehead rolling over into shadow here. We've got this cheekbone right here. For those of you that have taken photography, you probably know that this is Rembrandt lighting. So that is what is helping to make this drawing look a little bit more three-dimensional. When you're doing your illustration, you can make your soft areas a lot softer. You can make your hard edges a lot harder. And there's something about it. Our eyes, when we see hard edges, we can lock into details. But when we see soft edges, like in a sky, or maybe on the side of a woman's face as it's rolling into shadow, or maybe if there's slight blush or eyeshadow or something like that, it kind of gives our eyes a break a little bit. It gives our eyes a rest so we can zero in on the sharp contrast, but we need to take a breather as well. So having both, you really want to maximize the difference between your hard edges and your soft edges. There you go, 3 secrets of illustration. Regardless of any kind of illustration you're doing, I guarantee if you can try to maximize those 3 things, you are going to take your illustration to the next level. Did you enjoy class today? If so, give me a like. If there's something you'd like to see me cover in a future video, let me know what that is in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I've also got a video series called Sketchbook Challenge that helps your drawing, creativity, and fill up an awesome looking sketchbook. Plus, there are videos on You Can Draw Star Wars, Hollywood is Dead, and sneak peeks at the Aladdin 3477 motion picture trilogy. In order to not miss any new videos, hit that notification bell. Sharing is caring, and it's great to inspire your friends. Share this video on social media and your friends will share awesome art tips they find with you. If you're on Instagram, you can follow me at Matt_Busch_Instagram. I'll see you back in the classroom soon. Don't be tardy.